We're good? Okay, this is the Ware Ethics Committee meeting for Thursday, October 21st, 2025, 6 o'clock PM. I'd like to call the meeting to order and pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, for tonight, a review of our agenda. I handed it out to everybody. Any amendments? Any to the agenda? No?
No.
Okay, all right, if so, no, we'll continue on. Next thing is minutes from the previous meeting from July 17th, 2025. Handed out for review, and they was also sent out by Kimberly to the group. The only thing I need to add on the absent part is Brenda Cannon couldn't make our last meeting too, so if you could add it to the absent list.
Sure.
And then, that's the only change that I saw to that.
That's all I saw.
Any other changes? Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes with the addition of Brenda Cannon to the absent list.
Second.
Seconded by Leah. Any comments? Nope. Discussion? Okay. We'll vote.
I can actually vote on that, can I? Because I,
You
You
can
can
still review
abstain
the
if you
minutes. You
okay,
can-
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Yeah?
Yes,
Yes?
adopt the
Yes.
minutes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, they were sent out to you to review.
And I read them, but I thought, that's not
Yeah.
right for me to comment. I
Right.
wasn't even there.
Yeah,
I
and
always
then
abstain
have,
when I'm not
I don't
there.
know if you watched the video.
I do not. But
Okay.
I did read them, and
Okay.
I thought, I'm not going
All
to.
right. Okay. All right, so the motion, minutes passed 4-0-0. All right, as far as new correspondence, I have not received any new complaints or emails for the group to discuss. And again, any email we get to the Ethics Committee goes to everybody on that,
On that
Server.
server.
Group.
Okay.
it's just not me, okay? And then, let's see, on the old business, I know we didn't have full attendance a couple times, so Brenda, there was one thing that Leah looked up for us as far as the right to know request and how we handle meeting minutes. We're already following that guidance, so there was no change to that as far as the old business. And then we were gonna try to do reviews of the documents at the last meeting, and then look at the right to know presentation that was sent out by the New Hampshire Municipality Association. And we couldn't get any communication on the Wi-Fi. I'm able to connect to the Wi-Fi right now. The guest Wi-Fi is up there. If you have a phone or iPad or something like that, it's available. And it was just really spotty the last time we met.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so that's it for the old business. As far as review of the Ethics Committee Code of Ethics Training PowerPoint, I sent that out to everybody. I know I got comments from Leah and Christina before, and I incorporated it to it and then sent it out with those changes. And I'd still like to, have everybody take a look at it. I know you have your copy.
I did review this. Did you get I didn't have any further comment either. I read this.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that communication.
Oh, no.
That's okay. I did review it and I was.
Oh, you said, you reviewed the process, you were talking about the
This
the
one.
training, okay, you
Yeah.
reviewed the training document, okay. I thought you reviewed all these processes.
Oh, no.
Okay, so you did review
I
it?
did.
All right.
I had a question on that, and the first one I reviewed had I guess I was trying to figure out what the difference was between this one and I believe you had me look at one from an earlier date.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I couldn't figure out what's the difference.
The,
was.
the
Not
big,
much.
the big difference was, we broke up the slides where there wasn't so much information. As we were going through the code of ethics, we had responsibility and, you know, we had multiple parts of that
Okay.
code of ethics onto one page, and Leah recommended we just make it, here's the responsibility section, here's the, you know, conduct section. So
okay.
pretty much we just broke that up. And then I got rid of some of, there was one page that had a lot of information, and we said, let's just put the definition of ethics, and there was one little visual that kind of took
It was
moral.
just too busy
Yeah, the one with
for
had,
a slide, you know?
yeah, so we kind of broke it up and made it less
More easily
attacking.
readable.
Yeah, less attacking and easier flow. So that's the big difference, is we didn't really add any new,
Well, that's what I was trying to see, if there was different things you've added, or if you
Yeah.
made it more
All the
aggressive or what,
processes
you know,
are
and
still the
I couldn't
same.
quite figure that out, so.
yeah, and that was before you joined us,
Right.
that we made those changes, so. But I had already sent you,
You sent me one.
I had already sent you the one before you came on board.
Exactly.
And then we had a meeting, and you couldn't make that
That
first meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay, so, I'm just gonna move this to our next meeting when we have, I'm hoping September, we have everybody, and then we all agree that it's good to go. I still like to have all five of us at the time saying we're happy with
Okay.
it. I don't wanna speak for Christina at this time, okay? So, I motion that we just move this, table this approval to the September meeting.
Second.
Second by Leah. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 400. I just, you gotta understand, I really want us to all be part of the approval process. I don't want 3 or 4, I want 5 people saying yes. Okay, as far as the new business, I wanted to do, at least start the group review of our existing documents. And we also made a commitment after a legal opinion that was done, that everybody should be onboarded with going through, reviewing the process documents that exist for our group before you become an active member. And then also, we need to look at it and clean up some of the forms, or some of the documents. They have check marks already on them. I'm gonna put check boxes in. I've already updated the complaint form with check boxes. It hasn't been moved to the website yet, but once we approve it, it'll go up there. And that's the kind of stuff, but during this process review, it's gonna help you see what we do and what we're supposed to do as far as a group, whether it be a complaint, an inquiry, how we handle the pre-hearing, the hearing, any other formalities we have to do, okay? So let's go ahead and, I gave everybody a copy of the existing documents. Now, the documents that we have, they're all labeled like EC-C1, C2, D1, D2, P1, P2, P3. They were approved before I came on board.
Okay.
The C1 and C2 documents were approved back on August 23rd in 2023. The D1 and D2 documents were approved in September on the 20th of 2023. And then the P1 document, which is a very important document, we really go through that meticulously. That's our process document, how we handle pretty much any kind of complaint or inquiry or correspondence. And then that was approved on September 6, 2023. Then P2 was approved on September 20th. That one deals with the pre-hearing process, and the pre-hearing is pretty much a scheduling thing. I don't like the title, it's called pre-hearing. It sounds like you're having a hearing, but you get together with both parties involved, and you get information from them, and then you make arrangements of if they have witnesses or other things they want to introduce for the hearing, and then also look at schedule conflicts, trying to get a time that works for both parties. You know, you meet with them individually, but then eventually you have to have a hearing, and you want to have both parties present. And then the last document, P3, it was approved on 9/6, and that one was, it just talks about all the rules during the hearing. You know, it's how, you know, when we actually have a formal hearing, this is what we use as a guideline. And one other thing I pointed out at the last meeting, I believe, that a lot of our process documents, our code of conduct, code of ethic was not mimicked, but we got direction or input from the Dumbarton, town of Dumbarton. They kind of had pretty much the same charter and process flow. So I don't think they really invented it themselves, but they still went to legal for, you know, questions about, is this legitimate, can we do this, you know, can we not do that, on some of their forms. And I think I gave you a link to the Wendy Curry box. We're gonna eventually move that to the town website. They're gonna eventually give us a portion of their server, so I can throw all those documents on there. And right now, we go through our town administrator to get anything put onto our web page. So I'm hoping to get that where we kind of control it a little bit more and we have more access to it. But it'll be pretty much a read access, and then we'll work on who will have the right access. Will it be the secretary? You know, if we have to make any changes, we can talk about how we want to handle changes to documents. The other part that we covered at the last meeting is approval, how we're gonna do document approvals going forward. And we're gonna follow, the town has, like, I know I have them. The town, when they go through, actually it's over here. When the town has a policy or something like that, the members of that, like, select board, at the very last part, or last page of that document, they'll have the approval part, where each member signs for the document. And then at the bottom of the page, we'll have the approval date, and the signatures will go with it. So, right now, if you look at our documents, like, the first one, C1, it just says approved, you know, so, you know, now, it was approved during a meeting, you would have to go back to see who did the approval, you know, see what discussions were done behind it and so forth, but we just want to put a little bit more names behind it, or I'll call it oomph.
Now, I don't recall seeing in your documents anything that says how often you review your operating guidelines and,
Right.
you know, when you, what's the time period for that?
Well, we, like, when I came on board, I became a member, and then I participated. Christine came on board, and neither one of us had looked or reviewed all the documents. We knew they existed, but there was no requirement that you had to review all the documents and take a test or a quiz or sign that you read them. There's nothing in our implementation document that governs us as a committee. But to me, I think it's very important that we read them initially, just to see what we have and how to operate. And then if we have any change, we're all gonna review that change or agree, disagree, discuss the change that we might want to do to the document. But the only requirement we really have as far as training or reoccurring a thing is the whole town, you know, all the town employees, committee members, employees. Yearly, they're supposed to have some ethics training. And
Okay.
that's the presentation that we're gonna table till the next meeting. And we'll send that out, and it's supposed to take place in the spring. We're almost the end of summer, but my goal is really to have this approved the next meeting, and then I'll send out that training document to all the people, but that only covers the code of ethics. It doesn't cover all our process documents. It just talks about, this is the code of ethics, and here's your resources, you know. And on the website, we do have an FAQ, frequently asked question document. It's not on the website, but it's in the directory. So the FAQ, we could put stuff in there about those process documents, just what the titles are behind them. Eventually, they'll all be on the website. On the left-hand side of the Ware Ethics Committee page, right now, there's three documents. There's the Code of Ethics, then there's the complaint form, inquiry. There might be just 3 documents, I think, on the website. I can't remember offhand what they were.
Yeah,
But,
I think you're right. And then the minutes are down on the right.
yeah,
So
the
those-
agenda and minutes are down on the right. And then, that's about it. You know, and then, we also talked about at the last meeting as far as what we do when we get a hard document. Like if we get a letter from somebody, we need to store that for the right to know. And the town clerk has a folder that keeps all our documents.
Okay.
And it has, whether it be the town voting parts, our initial implementation document, you know, things like that. And so all the complaint forms will be in there. Any hearing forms, any hearings that have all the handwritten notes will go there and be retained for that right to know requirement. Now, we do have meetings sometimes where we go into a non-public session, and if those meetings are chosen to be sealed, they have another process for dealing with sealed meeting minutes or sealed, that portion of the meeting that's non-public. And I know other boards have some parts, like the Board of Selectmen, if they're doing a hiring process or something of that sort, they usually go into non-public, do whatever they do, and then they seal that for whatever the reasons are behind the legal parts behind it. Okay, so we'll start on our review of the documents, and
I just want to say one thing. I do think it's important, though, in our governing documents as a committee, I do think we need to have something solidified that if you're a new member, what's the period of time, right, that you have to review these documents so that you can actually participate in these meetings, because we want to prevent what happened, right, a few
Right,
months
Christine.
ago, where people knew coming in, they don't know the process. So I think that's something as a committee we should clearly define.
right, we could just say, once somebody becomes an active member, we could have it where, hey, within 30 days, you know, once you're sworn in, you know, some people get voted in, and then they're not sworn in till like 3 or 4 weeks later. But once you're sworn into office, then we go like with a 30-day, you know, that you go through and read all the documents, talk with the chairman and secretary, get any questions answered, and then attest to it at the next meeting of the group and say, I have reviewed the documents, I have had all my questions answered, or my comments, you know, listened to, and then you become a participating member of the committee. So we could do something like that. And what I can do is I can bring the implementation document for our group. That's our document. That's our guidance, the implementation document. I think, I know I sent it to you.
Yeah, I read lots of
And it
things
was
that you-
done back in like 2006 or 9. It was a long time ago, 2003? 2006, March of 2006. And there was some argument on, you know, can we change it as a group, or do we have to take it to a vote of the public? Had a bunch of legal questions. We went through the Board of Selectmen, got legal counsel, and they said, no, it's your document, it's your living document. If we need to make changes to it, you know, we go through our committee to add things, remove things, or clarify, you know, things in it itself. So we could probably make something in there as far as to become an active member of the group, you need to review our existing process documents and confirm with the chairman and the secretary, you know, that has taken place. Again, you heard the history behind Christina got right in there. She got sworn in at the meeting, sat at the table, and then was a participant and hadn't looked at any documents. So we don't want that to happen again. And that's why, when you came on board, I sent you
You sent me a
everything.
lot of things
I
to
sent
read.
you a lot of stuff, you know, but did I tell you how everything worked? No, I couldn't tell you everything. I would have to spend a couple of hours going through all those. You could see there's a lot of documents in there, but nothing was laid out for you saying, these are the process documents you have to read. Because there's legal letters in there. If you look at that folder, there's some legal letters in there. There was some Q&A kind of things. There was some discussion things. There was meeting minutes on how they were making some of the documents, you know, those kind of things, so. But this'll be a good step for you, and then Christina will also have to attest, you know, for it too. And Leah. And Kimberly. So I think once we're all done going through this review process, it'll help us four, and then we'll have to get Christina on board. Okay?
That's fine.
All right. So the first form is EC for Ethics Committee and C:1. It's the inquiry request for advice and counsel. And pretty much, you know, you have a complaint or an inquiry. Somebody might, hey, I'm seeing this, I got a question, you know, is this okay, or can we continue to do this? Whether it be a committee, whether it be a work group, whether it be a town office, you know, kind of stuff like that. And the other part is, it says that this process is anonymous. There's no name associated with this document. It's just, somebody's just inquiring or bringing to the attention a possibility of a ethics issue, okay? And as far as this form, it could be email, you know, can be filled out and emailed, but I think once you email it, you lose the anonymity,
Yeah.
right? You lose.
Yes.
So we do have a box, as soon as you come in, that would be the east door, right? When you come in that main door entrance, there's a box on the right-hand side that's for the Ethics Committee or tax person. That box on the right that has Ethics Committee, it has two names on it. Ethics. Tax collector, and so it's a locked box, so they could submit this form, and to be anonymous, they would just drop it in there, and they don't have to put the name on it or anything like that.
So do you really check it weekly like you said?
It gets checked regularly. If there's anything that's in there, they'll, Naomi or her assistant will let me know,
Oh, okay.
and I will come get it. She has my number, she can reach me anytime, because I don't know what's dropped in there. And if it's in the letter, it could be a right-to-know request, it could be a complaint, it could be an inquiry. So they'll let me know, and if I can't make it, I'll get a hold of Kimberly. Right now, we're the two that handle the correspondence, kind of stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
okay? All right, so this form looks pretty simple. It's just, I can read it out if you want in the group, or I can just continue on the next form. You see, you know, the big part is you see in all our forms. And on this form, I will also, I'll get rid of the check marks and make them into check boxes,
Oh, okay.
you know.
Instead of circling, okay, check the box, okay.
Right, I'll make those into check boxes. I'll make a little note for me to make those into check boxes.
And you're gonna add the approval spaces as well, Carl?
The approval on the form would be another page. Unless I shrink this,
Okay.
it'd have to be, I'll add an approval page for our signatures, okay? All right? And I was gonna show you, Brenda, like, here's the town of where the zoning people, they had a zoning ordinance, and they'd say, there's effective date, whenever they approved it, this would be adopted by or approved by Ethics Committee on this date, and then have our signatures and date. We could do initials too. I don't think it's really, I don't know how we want to do this. I mean, you could put your name and initial that you did it. I don't know what the legality is behind it. They doing,
I don't either, I mean,
yeah.
I
But that-
think even just a vote and it recorded in the minutes is enough.
Right.
I don't think that's totally necessary. I think it's just an extra step, kind of making busy work.
Right,
Because I think if you look at when it was approved, you go back to that meeting, on the website if you want to find the discussion behind it and who voted on it and stuff. That's.
but at the time, we looked at a couple of ways that they were doing the approvals, and this one was a more formal
Yeah.
approval method, okay? All right, so that's C1. Okay, Form C2 is a request for advisory, and this one here, advisory opinion, this one here, you put your name, title, address, and telephone number. Now, when we put these forms onto the website, or, make them available to the public, I really don't like having telephone numbers for people to be out there and their address. I could put, just the street address, not the number, kind of stuff. I don't know what the requirements are when people submit documents and you post them to a public forum, I'm looking at PII.
It's actually against data privacy. You
Right.
can't do that. It's illegal to do it.
Right, I can't publish their
You
phone number
can't.
and their address,
No.
correct? Just their name,
Just their name. You can't even put a name with an email anymore. You're not supposed to anyways in many forms unless you have specific written approval by that individual.
yeah.
They're very strict.
So I'll make sure all the forms that I submit to, anything that could be possibly posted, like, we used to scan in documents and put them to the meeting minutes. Like, I would get letters, and then I'd scan them in, and I had it encrypted, where only I could open it up and print it out, and then I put it to the meeting minutes. But when I put them on the actual meeting minutes for people to look at, I lined out their phone numbers and their email. Just their name and what street they were on. That kind of stuff, because you have to show that they're a resident of the town of Ware.
right.
So, we have to at least show that, okay? So, as far as the form itself, again, I'm gonna get rid of the check marks and put check boxes down at the bottom. And I'll add the approval page. No, I know the C1 and C2 forms are, well, let me see, I was gonna go onto the website to see what's 5, 4, 7, 6, 5. Where? Oh, I can't open it. I've gotta do that. Can't open page. 1 second. Let's see. Okay. Boards and committees, A through H. So, on on the website, we have the Code of Ethics form, the inquiry, the C1, and the request for written advisory, C2, and we have the complaint form, D1. So those three are on there, plus the Code of Ethics form. Okay. Again, this is, I mean, I don't know what the big difference between an inquiry, except for, I know that it's anonymous. Here, somebody's asking for advisory opinion as far as the code. I don't know, you know, I haven't seen any advisories submitted to the group since I've been part of it. Okay?
I do have a quick question. When I look at these forms, or this form, it seems like it applies only to town employees, whereas I thought these were for anybody in town who had an ethics complaint against, let's say they have an ethics complaint against their neighbor. But when I see this title of office held or position, to me, that's telling me that, or am I just interpreting this incorrectly?
Yeah, we don't deal with private matters
Ah,
between
okay.
citizens. It's
Okay.
all about the town
The
and the
town
town
only.
employees,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like if a member of the public wanted, you know, to understand how the code of ethics applies to a certain scenario, they could do this inquiry form, but an advisory opinion would be for a board or an employee.
I gotcha, okay.
Okay. Okay. Next form is the D1 form, which is the Ethics Code violation complaint. And this has been used about 7 times. We've had 7 complaints. And again, I'm gonna get rid of the check boxes that are automatically already done on the form. Add the approval page. And usually, once we get the form, we do try to make contact with the person filing the form to make sure it's filled out in its entirety. Sometimes you get a form that might not have the right section in it. You read the complaint, and you say, it's not responsibility, it should be this. And you just discuss it. It's just one of those things. It's not like, we're not expecting everybody to be 100% accurate on everything in there. And this is just to get things started, but we just like to make sure the form's completed, or enough information is for us to go forward. Because we have to look at the complaint and go through, you'll see in the P1 document how we handle complaints.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other part is, we also have to confirm that this person is a Ware resident that's filing the complaint. You can't have somebody from Dunbarton or Francistown or New Boston filing a complaint. Okay? Now, the next form is the D2 form, which is the Ware Ethics Complaint Waiver. And this is on the, once the complaint's gone in, somebody may waive their rights to participate in the process. Like, say I filed a complaint against you for something, and you might say, I don't want to participate in the hearing, and then you would fill out this form.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On just what you had said about non-residents, because we have a lot of non-residents that do business with the town, and so I don't understand why they wouldn't be able, like, say, a builder who's applying for, you know, permits on a property, you know, in town, or even someone who doesn't have their primary residence here, but are just, you know, maybe have, you know, a rental property or a business property here. It seems like, and I don't see anything on here, like, requiring them to be residents for a complaint.
Well.
And I think that makes
if you go-
sense.
If you go into the P1 document, something, I remember seeing something about town resident. I gotta go to the implementation document too.
Yeah. I don't see anyone in the P1 that,
Yeah.
that
hold on.
precludes it, or, restricts it to Ware residents. 'Cause you could be a taxpayer in Ware and not live here.
Okay, here you go. This is our implementation document.
Okay.
It says, "All such requests or complaints must be in writing, shall specify the provisions of the code which the complainant believes were violated, and must be signed by a resident of Ware."
Okay.
And what document is that?
That's our implementation document.
Okay. That serves the basis of the process P1 document?
Well, the P1 document is how we review complaints and inquiries. But the implementation document, this is our form now,
Okay.
Yeah, it's our constitution.
right, yeah. Now, if you want me to add, let's see, which one is it?
Yeah, so like if you wanted to have this in compliance with that, then it would need to, there should be a checkbox, like I'm a resident of Ware, if we want it to align with that.
Where do you mean, Leah?
On the complaint form,
Complaint form?
yep.
Yeah, but then there's the part, if you're a town employee bringing the matter of complaint to the attention of your supervisor,
Right.
there,
might
you
not
could be living in New Boston, you work for the town.
Right, so I think maybe we need to amend that, implementation form and just say, you had a legitimate interest in, or you had business with the town, whether it's as a taxpayer or a resident or,
What I can do, I can look at the Dunbarton forms and see what they have in there as far as, being a resident, because just when I came on board, the first thing Wendy Curry always did with the complaints, is this a Ware is this person residing where?
yeah. But if you went by that, then employees who live out of town couldn't file a complaint,
Right.
Right.
And again, taxpayers who just don't
Well,
reside
it could
here.
be, we could have it such that if you're a Ware employee, or,
Taxpayer
or-
or,
it'd have to be, you have to be associated with the town
Yeah.
in some form, whether employee, volunteer, if you're volunteering for some,
yeah, park, mm-hmm, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how people get hired onto like the Parks and Rec Committee. I don't know if they have to be a Ware resident to be on the park. I don't know how everything's set up on some of those
Yeah.
smaller groups where they get people that work at the Chase Park.
Mm-hmm.
They get high school students to do it that work at, say, John Stark. They might live in Henniker, but they're
Yeah.
part of the Ware Committee, so that's a good point. Maybe we can, Leah, if you can take a look at some
Yeah,
other committees that you might know that might have something like this, where they're, I know like they have a committee that looks at, is it planning committee? Not the planning committee, what's the one that does the property, like somebody wants an easement on a property?
Zoning?
Zoning committee,
adjustment, yeah.
if somebody happens to be on the edge of town, somebody's that got a property that's dealing with Dunbarton and
Right.
Ware, how do you handle,
Yeah.
can that person from Dunbarton say, hey, wait, a minute, this person's imposing on my property, I wanna file a complaint with the
Yeah.
town of Ware?
yeah, we just have to clearly
We'll have to
describe,
look at that wording,
okay,
So.
I'll look around.
Can you make that an action item for
Yep.
us as a group to take a look at other towns? I mean, if you have any resources that you know how they handle ethics complaint within a town.
No, but Leah has a very good point, because I know a lot of people who live here who are not full-time residents but pay taxes here.
Right.
Right, yeah, a lot of people have like I'm on Horace Lake. You got people that live in Manchester most of the time, and then they spend their summers or weekends here, but they have a property. So, it's a good point. Never been brought up before, see? That's why we're having this meeting.
Fresh
Yeah.
eyes.
And why we're
Good.
discussing it. So,
Right.
but that, if any input you can get to
Sure.
make the form true to how it should represent a complaint, and what status or foundation they have behind the complaint, like a town
I think
resident.
the term is vested interest.
Right,
I'll look it up. I think it's in statute and that is already
Okay.
defined.
all right. And we'll bring that as an action item for the next meeting. And we'll get that form, before we even try to approve it, we're gonna get that part added, okay?
Okay.
And we'll also look at the inquiry, not the inquiry, what's the other form,
Advisory.
the advisory. That one there, it talked about
Being, yeah,
your name, and you have to have something to do with the town.
which makes sense. 'cause
This one
it's-
here, you have to be part of the town,
Yeah, and there's one for private persons, that's the inquiry form,
and that's
so
the,
that makes sense.
that's anonymous,
Yeah.
okay?
So there was no, C2, there's no action item. Am I understanding that correctly? For the C2 form?
Just the
The
check
two-
boxes.
Just the D1 form needs us. The complaint waiver, that's whoever's participating in the complaint, if they don't want to be, they don't want to participate in the process, the hearing process. Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
I
so
don't think I have the waiver.
P1.
Oh, there it is.
All right. P2,
I think generally, these forms are all very worded, very well worded
okay.
and clear.
All right, so P1 is, anytime we get any correspondence in from the public, we use the P1 document at the next scheduled meeting. Like I check, one of my responsibilities as a chairperson is weekly, I check, we got a mailbox, and then if Naomi or assistant gets anything in that front box, then I was told that I could take a look. I can't act upon it. I can open it up. If it's a right-to-know request, I have to do something within 5 days. I can't wait for a month before we meet. And so, and legal was with us, Naomi, our town administrator, was with us, and at the time, the Board of Selectmen chairperson was with us. And it's just very important that we handle those right-to-know requests in a proper manner. And so, but I'll get correspondence, or everything else, once I get it and verify it's not a right-to-know request, then at our next meeting, then we'll go through the complaints, inquiries, or opinion stuff as a group. We don't do business on email. We do it in public, and we have our meetings broadcast.
Should we have, insert a new number 2 here and say, the chair will verify that everyone at the meeting has read and acknowledged reading the process documents before entering the non-public session? As like a check to make sure.
Well,
I think that gets really tough tough on the chair to have to verify that the person, I mean, how are you gonna verify that
Right.
someone actually read and didn't
They
read?
sign an acknowledgement form,
Right.
Yeah, but,
But
I don't know, it seems to
or
me
that
like
there's an
We're gonna-
acknowledgement form on
I
file.
think we're gonna take care of, before you become an active member, before you become part, you'll get sworn into office, but before you become an active member, you have read.
Before you can
discuss-
participate in the decisions, I
Right,
guess, before you
into
can
any of the
vote.
processes. And again, we had Christina sworn in, and 5 minutes later, she's participating in
Right.
votes and discussions and stuff like that, and that wasn't right.
Right,
So, but I think the process document should be able to stand alone. But our implementation document, we could look at changing that such that we have a part in there when you become a member. You should review our existing process documents, our approved process documents, because we have other documents in there that have no strength, or, they're just information kind of documents. There's copies of other town information, is a who's who kind of thing in there too, so. But as far as this process, this is I'm gonna call this is the heart of our committee as far as how we're handling any new correspondence or business. I'm gonna call it business for us, as far as complaints, inquiries, or advisories. So, again, if I can't make the weekly pickup, I'll ask the secretary or another member to do so in my absence. Okay? And then, at the next meeting, we'll go into non-public session. And the reason why we go into that non-public session is just in case there's information that needs to stay non-public. Not all complaints are against a town employee. It might be against a committee member or some other board person that's not a quote-unquote town employee. The next step in that P1, review all correspondence received and sort the material into two distinct groups. There you break it up to the advice, anonymous or identified, and the other one's complaint. Then process steps for advice or written opinion. In a non-public session, review the issue. And if information provided meets the standard of not identifying a person or party, that can be moved to a public session for discussion. If the information is identifiable, actually, if the information is in the course that would be identifiable, move to public session. That would be non-public, right?
no. Oh, yeah, in the request that would be identified, I'll move to public session, move to public session, advise the complainant that the matter cannot be taken up there,
Okay.
taken up as there is identifiable information included. The only thing, though, it does not,
Is
it
that
just
P-
says identifying a person and party, it should say employee, because elected officials and appointed officials are not protected by that exception to the right to know law. So it should say employee.
So elected and appointed, they're not town employees.
Only if they are town employees. Some town employees are appointed, so I would just say, it should just say an employee, identifying an employee.
Okay.
Of the town,
Yeah.
And remove person, party.
yeah.
On that part two, I still think, to me, is asked they resubmit the request after a careful edit to remove I think they're looking at PII. Like if the complaint has Carl, you know, I'm gonna say Carl Smith, social security number 012, blah, 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 you know, I think they're saying if you got a complaint and somebody's identified more personal information, instead of just saying this person and their title, but they give their phone number, you know, at work, their phone number at home, their address. I
That's
think-
not protected by the exceptions in the right to know law, though. You can't just add new classes of material that, you know, like, okay, so here's an example. In the legislature, when we have committees and people bring in, like, there was a committee to investigate the family court, and people would bring in all their case files, and it has personally identifying information in there, and it's, you know, basically, they were given a disclosure. You understand that what you put in this is, it becomes public record, please do your due diligence and make sure you redact anything, self-redact your documents for anything that shouldn't be visible to the public, but otherwise, I mean, that was it. And then it became part of the committee file, and anybody can go and look at those records. So it's like, once it's in the hands of a government body, you just have to comply with what the statute says about what you can make available. Like, all documents discussed in a meeting are supposed to be made public unless they are part of a non-public session. And the exceptions that allow for a non-public are like super specific. But we could get advice from council if you wanted to just clarify how to go about that.
Right, and again, I'm just going on what I've been doing as far as, I've been handling our first 7 complaints, and anything to me that
Yeah, but you
gives
can't
people more,
do that.
but, I mean, I don't want to give people
I understand. But
somebody's
you need to have the
name,
legislature
phone
change it
number.
then.
I mean, you're listing the name, phone number, email,
Yeah,
and then now somebody can open up and start harassing that person because they filed a complaint. They can start sending emails to that person. You see, you see what I'm saying? To me, on the form, there only should be the name of the person you filed a complaint and their position within the town. There should be no email, no phone number, no address of that person that you're filing a complaint against.
if they're an employee, you're right, they're protected, so
Yeah.
their information can't go out there. But if they're an elected official, their phone number's already on the website, their email's on the website.
Well, the phone number as far as here, but I'm saying, I'm looking at this as identifiable information. I'm looking at PII, you know, protecting people's identities, that identities are stolen every
You
day.
know that everybody's address is on the voter rolls that are all public information,
Right.
you know? So I'm just saying, like,
But I'm,
it's statutorily not permitted,
right,
so we can't do it. But I think we could get clarification from council on it. It's a sticking point for me because I just, you know, if you submit something into a public meeting, you do it with the understanding that unless it falls under those few exceptions, that it's going to become part of the public record.
but say I submit a form, say I'm filing complaint, I put my, you know, if you go to that complaint form, the
Yeah.
D1.
Sure, and you name the party.
I'm putting my name, my address, my phone number, and I'm putting that in there.
Yep,
But if I write some stuff down here and say Brenda blank at 1111 Main Street, phone number, blah, 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 that should not be a public record because Brenda didn't give me permission to put that information out. I
that
think.
would be
I-
a civil suit between Brenda and that person, though.
But I don't
You know,
think we
that's not
should-
the town's responsibility, and it's not provided in law that we can do that.
I'm just saying, it's like, it just seemed like we could get in trouble by putting out, to me, this is saying, if there's identifiable information on a person, it shouldn't be made public.
Right, but that's not what the law says, so.
Okay.
But I think we should get advice from council to
Okay.
clarify that.
Should I put that as an action item?
Well,
Yeah,
we'll have to make a motion to,
right, we have to ask the select board.
yeah, we gotta go to the Board of Selectmen to get counsel, so if you wanna draw up a motion,
Okay,
how you wanna word it up, and then we can do that.
sure, I'll bring it to the next meeting.
Okay, have a motion on how we address this.
Yeah.
Part 2 of the ECP 1, Section A2. How we handle, it's.
Personal identifying information for non-employees.
This is, right here, it's saying they resubmit their request after a careful edit to remove. This is in our form, telling them to remove it.
It doesn't mean that it's necessarily lawful, though, just
Right.
because it's on the form. Edit to remove any identifiable information. Ask that they resubmit their request after a careful edit to remove it. So you reject the request.
Right, I
We
would.
reject the request until they remove it. That might, I don't know. Might be all right. If there's, so give them a chance to self-redact before we proceed.
Right.
Information.
I'm not saying that I'm the devil's advocate, I just don't like the idea that somebody could use this form and then give out all my information, you know, they file this complaint.
Sure.
And we make this public, we read out the complaint in a public form, and now everybody has my information on the person I'm complaining against. And and to me, the only thing they could say is, I got a complaint against Carl, chairman of the ethics committee, not chairman of the ethics committee, his daughters, Jennifer, his sons, you know, Sam, whatever, you know, and they live on this street, and they work from 8 to 5, their house is available for, you know, I just trying to protect the person that's being complained against, you know.
As long as it's lawful, it's fine with me. I just feel like we need
I
clarification.
mean, when
Sorry.
you see, like those police crime reports, you know, the WARE reports, the log rolls, they give you usually just the name of the person and what town they're from. You might say of what street, but they don't give you anything else. They don't say, you know, they usually don't even tell
Well,
you that.
because that would be directly the town. But if you went and did a right to know request for the police report, you can get it, and that has their phone number and all of that stuff on it. It doesn't? So the attorneys redact it then?
Police department does.
Okay,
Personal cell phones and emails.
okay, but that's probably, you know, laid out in statute is my assumption, or administrative rules. So, yeah, I guess we just need to find out how
Right.
it's handled. We can ask the select board, maybe they can just tell us, maybe they know,
Okay.
because they do similar.
So Leah, do you wanna make a motion then?
Well, she's gonna,
I'll write up a motion for next time, and
Do we
then,
have to have the committee approve it though, to move
Well-
forward with requesting, you know? to
I'm not
go-
gonna request it until I draft it up.
yeah, she
for, like,
wants
next
to
time.
get
Okay.
more information, and then she'll have a.
Yeah, I mean, let me look into it, because maybe it's already laid out in statute, and,
Okay.
you know. But
Yeah.
it's just a concern, that's all, so just
mean,
get to the bottom of it, and if it's not, you know, laid out, then we could get an opinion.
And what we did, like, I think I told you earlier, there was one time we went to the Board of Selectmen to get permission to have legal counsel. You know, we used town council to answer our questions on how to proceed on certain things.
Yeah,
So you'd have one motion for us to
to go there and ask.
ask the board, and then you would have the second motion, whatever your query is. Or
Okay.
you could have that motion to go to council, and you can tell them what your issue is,
Okay,
kind of stuff like that. I'll see if I can find in the old minutes what Luke Drake had done,
mhm.
okay? All right. Well, we're having good discussion so far, right? The next part of the ECP one is the process steps for a complaint. That's section B. B1 says the sort complaints into two groups. A is complaints that must be heard in non-public session, and that's town personnel related. And then the other part is B, other complaints, non-town personnel. Part 2 of B, complaints that cannot be heard in public session, the town personnel related. We'll review determine if they meet the following criteria. A, does the complaint fall within the jurisdiction of the town of Ware Ethics Committee? If yes, what are the specific areas of the ethics found within the Ware Code of Ethics that the complaint alleges has been violated? And that's on the form already. You know, they fill out in the form what they think the thing is. And then, when did this alleged violation occur? I don't know if there's any statute of limitation on that, but, and then what steps has the complainant already taken to address the complaint? Have they availed themselves to all possible avenues or remedy prior to filing the formal complaint?
There should
And
just
that's
be
in
an
the-
end parent too.
Which
on
one?
that. This is a parenthetical question, so there should be an end.
Oh, that should be a parentheses at the end there, okay. But on the complaint form, there's a part in here, it says, where you bring the matter to the attention of the individual, bring it before the board or committee involved. If you're a town employee, bringing the matter of the complaint to the attention of your supervisor. So there's already some parts in there, and you don't have to do them all, it's just, they just want you to try to address it before you come to us, to the committee.
Just a
Two-
question on that point, I think, just for my education. If, let's say, an individual has already complained, let's say, to the police about it, do they have to disclose that to us as part of that step? Or is it not relevant?
We could ask it during our investigation, right?
Yeah, we can ask them, you know, in the pre-hearing, you know, have you addressed this? You know, are you just coming straight to us? Because there are sometimes people are afraid to go to their supervisor because the supervisor might be friends with the person you're going to complain against. So they could say, I would go to my supervisor, but the person I'm complaining about is best friends. They're like neighbors, best friends, their kids go to school together. And so there'll be cases where you don't bring it up. You know, we just want to try to get things solved sooner instead of waiting for us to be the final straw. Okay? So the next part of the complaint process, if the complaint meets all three criteria above, it moves to a pre-hearing process. Also to be managed in a non-public session. Now, in the pre-hearing process that we had, we set up like a subcommittee that would be 2 members from the committee. Like, when I met on one of the complaints, we wanted to have 2 of us there. If we have 3 or more, it becomes public. You know, so we set up a thing, and again, this is not the actual hearing. The pre-hearing was just for scheduling, getting information, verifying everything's good on the form. There's no, you know, no additions or retractions or dealing with PII stuff, you know, kind of stuff. But the pre-hearing is done in a non-public session. Everything's still recorded, you know, handwritten, you know, recorded. You know, I wrote everything down on the form, everything that was discussed, and then anything that was given to me was attached to that pre-hearing.
Oh, you know, I think there's one thing, I'm just going back, because I was looking at this and I'm like, oh, non-public, like, you know, why is that exceptions? I think there is something about where it could jeopardize the character. I usually bring the whole law with me, but I didn't today. So, I'm just thinking out loud, sorry, that it might fall under that, so I'll look into it.
Okay. All right, so So if the complaint meets all three, it moves to the pre-hearing process, also to be managed in a non-public session. And then Part C of 2, you enter into the public session to identify that a complaint has been accepted that must be held in a non-public session due to it being personnel related. That has to do with a town employee. All right. Then for all other complaints, you can move the discussion to the public session. So we'd come out of that non-public session, and then we would go through and cover those public session complaints. And again, we do a review to determine if they meet the following criteria. Again, does this complaint fall within the jurisdiction of the Town of Ware Ethics Committee? And then, when did this violation occur? What steps have been taken? And then if the complaint meets all three, you move to the pre-hearing process. So,
Another parenthesis
another
on
parenthesis,
C
oh, yeah,
at the
that's in
end.
there, yeah. I think I'd also like, if you take a look at how this numbering's done on this, like, you got B, and then you go 1, and then you go small a, small b, but on the B2, it goes A, and then small a, small b. That should be,
Yeah, the formatting.
there should be
Yeah.
something different there, right?
Right.
Yeah, should be.
Would I go to
Roman numerals.
1?
Little
I,
Roman
or I go to
numerals.
I,
Yeah.
right?
That'd be
Yeah.
You
fine.
agree?
That's
I
So I'm
agree.
gonna redo those to make them flow better. Okay? Just on that section there. All right? All right, next document we got is the ECP2. One thing I gotta get rid of is that draft watermark.
I have an extra one of these, actually.
Oh, that's the one with the check boxes. Oh, no, you did that.
Oh,
You
maybe I
wrote those,
pulled
yeah.
it out.
Oh, okay. All right. But ECP2 is the pre-hearing notification.
Oh, yeah, no, it is.
So what we do is we send a notification to the subject of the complaint. You provide a copy of the complaint with all provided documents. You have a description of the pre-hearing process, and that's, I send them the P2 form. Then we set up a date for the pre-hearing. There's a form to waive participation in the process. That's the let's see, which one was the waiver? C1, C2? I think it's C.
D2,
C2,
D2.
D2, okay. I should put the form number on these, you know what I mean? Like, description of the pre-auth. So it's D2. I'll add that. And we also notify both parties that refrain from public discussion of the issues, including social media, until after the hearing. Then the pre-hearing itself, it's non-public. But here it says non-public of possibility of reputation damage.
Right, and that's the piece that I was just saying that I think is actually an exception. So,
And then Ethics Committee, we meet with each party individually, like I didn't meet with both parties at the same time. And then the pre-hearing process, we just summarize the complaint, get a list of witnesses for the hearing from both parties, see if there are any calendar conflicts. We try to find a window that works for both. And then the hearing prep, then I ensure all parties have copies of any documents provided during the pre-hearing. If I get a form from one party, I make it available to the other person. And then schedule the hearing based on the estimated time required and share the dates with all parties. And once both parties see the dates that are available and the times, then once I get something that's mutual, agreed upon, then we go with that
I just
date.
have a quick question. So let's say someone has decided to waive participation, do they still get copies of everything?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, they just don't,
don't show up for the,
they don't do any,
yeah,
they just sit back and let the person sink or swim, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know how else to call it. All right, so that's the P2 form, and again, this is for the pre-hearing, and again, there's no, it's more information and scheduling, gathering, and crossing the i's, or dotting the i's, crossing the t's, make sure everything's good to go. Now, the heart of the hearing itself is the P3, and that's a 3-page document. And it talks about the rules regarding the conduct of hearings. And the big part is the notice of the hearing. The committee shall provide written notice of the hearing to both the complainant and the respondent and include a copy of the complaint and supporting materials. That's the part I talked about. If I get any materials from one party, both parties get it. The notice shall provide the date, time, and place of the hearing. Witnesses, and it's the responsibility of each party to contact, prepare, and produce any witnesses. It's not my responsibility or our part. It's the parties in the complaint. Each party is responsible to ensure his or her witnesses participate during the hearing process. Representation, each party may represent himself or herself at the hearing or may select another person who may be a resident of Ware to conduct the case. That person will be the only person other than the members of the Ethics Committee to ask questions of a witness. Each party must inform the committee of the name of the person who will be questioning witnesses. Presiding official, the chair of the Ethics Committee shall be the presiding officer at the hearing and will guide the hearing proceedings to ensure compliance with this guidance and the Ethics Committee's procedures. Substantive decisions will be made by the Ethics Committee collectively via vote. Agreement on issues. Should the parties come to an agreement on facts or issues in dispute, the agreement shall be read into the record. As far as the hearing procedures, members of the Ethics Committee will introduce themselves for the record. And I just want to make another point there. When we had discussions before, when we have a hearing, when our committee was down to 3 or 4 members, we did not want to go into the hearing process without having a full committee. We think it's very important to have 5 members, not 4, not 3. Our implementation document talks about 5 members. Now, there's a quorum of 3 to do business, but we feel it's prudent that we have 5 members at that hearing. I think it's very important that we get that, and I would not like to have a hearing with 4 where we get a 2-2 decision kind of
Exactly.
stuff. So, the next part, the parties will introduce themselves for the record. Part 3, if not already in the record, shared with the other party in the Ethics Committee, all documents must be presented and shared at this time, or they will not be accepted as evidence in these proceedings. Part 4, the charging party will present an opening statement, and following that, the charged party may present an opening statement. Each party and witness, Part 5, each party and witness shall take the following oath. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Part 6, the charging party may present his or her witnesses who will be introduced and will respond to questions asked by the charging party or his or her representative, and then by the Ethics Committee members. Part 7, following that, the charged party will present witnesses in the same manner. Part 8, each party may make a brief closing statement. Part 9, if either party requests the committee to make a determination on evidence or objects to or objects to any component of the proceeding, the committee will pause the proceedings, consider the question, and make a determination through voice vote, then reestablish the normal order of proceeding. Any decision the committee may make will be announced publicly prior to the continuation of the proceedings. Part 10, at any point during the hearing, either representative or a committee member may request the committee chair to allow a short recess. Add a S there. Part 11, after both parties have submitted evidence they wish to have considered, concluded the presentation of their witness, and have made their closing statements, the hearing will be closed. Part 12, the committee may issue a written decision immediately. B, wait until minutes are received and render a decision within 10 days of receiving the minutes. Is that 10 working days or 10 calendar days?
Good point.
Business.
Business?
What is it?
Oh, business days. The RSA calls you in as business days.
Okay,
You call it what you want, you make it your own rules.
all right. Part 12C, determine that the parties need to submit written position papers in support of their positions, whereupon the committee will determine a date for submission. The committee will make its decision within 10 days after receiving the position papers. Okay. Now we go to, that's the end of the hearing procedures. Now we deal with the right to know, RSA 91A. All hearings, pre-hearings, and informal conferences shall be held in compliance with New Hampshire's right to know law. Accordingly, all hearings shall be posted and shall be open to the public, except when the committee determines the need for a non-public session under the exemptions of RSA 91, in which case the committee will post a notice of hearing and proceed accordingly. Complaints alleging misuse of confidential information. When the committee receives a complaint alleging that a person has misused confidential information, the committee may take whatever measures it deems appropriate that are consistent with due process to ensure that the confidential information is not further disseminated.
So I have a question on that. Does that give us complete authority, or we still need to go in front of the board, right, because we don't have a budget? So meaning if we need to outsource something, certain services, right, forensics or other, professional related services, we don't have autonomy to do that. We still need to get approval from the board. So I
Right.
guess, should we reword that in that, we don't, it's not all within our power to, you know what I'm trying to say, make the steps necessary, should that occur? You know,
I understand what you're saying. I don't know that it's just inherent in our scope. So I don't know that it needs to be, whatever measures within our scope, within its scope deems appropriate. That would be, within its authority.
right, within our authority.
Yeah.
So when I read that, it makes it
Right,
sound
within
like.
our
Yeah.
authority. I mean, we
Yeah.
can't go and, we don't have a budget.
Right.
As far as our group, we can't go
Whatever measures within
bring in
its
other
authority.
resources and pay them to do certain things to,
Yeah. Yeah, so like within our authority would be going to the select board and saying, hey, I think the town, this is this example, not a real, I think the town clerk, accidentally leaked, a list or something, and, can you, it would just be us notifying them, basically, and then they would take it from there. Yeah. So, yeah, I think maybe just putting within its authority, whatever measures within its authority it deems appropriate.
within the committee.
Mhm.
Okay, and the next part, pre-hearing and other informal conferences. At any time prior to the commencement of a formal hearing, the Ethics Committee may meet with the parties for a pre-hearing conference to aid in the disposition of the proceeding. Issues to be addressed may include but are not limited to narrowing or simplification of the issues, or any other matters which might contribute to the prompt, fair, and orderly conduct of the proceedings. Evidence. Hearings, evidence part one, hearings shall not be conducted under the rules of evidence, but the evidentiary and statutory privileges recognized by New Hampshire law shall apply. Two, any evidence which will reasonably assist the Ethics Committee in arriving at the truth shall be admissible, but evidence which is irrelevant or immaterial, unduly repetitious or cumulative, or needlessly insulting, harassing, or scandalous shall be excluded.
So, quick question, who determines what's irrelevant or immaterial? You as the
We do.
chair?
We would do it as a committee,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I would not put that on one person. If we feel that something is wrong, we would stop. Have that discussion. I think there was a part in the hearing where we could stop any time
Mhm.
to deal
Yeah.
with the issue or,
By nature, a body never makes a decision as like a one member. It's always the
Yeah.
body.
yeah. 3, on the evidence part, the Ethics Committee may direct that some or all the evidence be submitted in written form, but oral testimony shall be required when necessary to avoid material prejudice or to permit full and fair disclosure of disputed material facts. 4, witnesses testifying before the Ethics Committee shall testify under oath or affirmation. 5, if the Ethics Committee takes official notice of a fact, it shall so state, and upon timely request shall permit any party the opportunity to show to the contrary. And the last part, burden of proof. The party alleging that a person or persons have violated the code of ethics of the town of Ware, capital T, as adopted by the citizenry through ballot, shall have the burden of proving the truth of the allegation by clear and convincing evidence. Clear and convincing evidence is defined as that evidence which establishes a factual conclusion to be highly probable rather than merely more probable than not. So, and that's the end of our approved document part. So there's a lot of read there. And then, we can take these and chew on them some more. And then, hopefully Christina will get a chance to look at our meeting, and are you gonna see Christina? I can give you a set for her if you want. Are you gonna?
I don't have any plans to, but,
Oh, okay. All right, I'll just staple these and,
she lives on my street. I don't mind. I'll take
Okay.
them and, I'll text her.
yeah, just make sure I don't have any extra C1 to D1, whatever I did. D1, D2, P1, P2, P3, okay. If you could,
Sure.
just, that way she has stuff to write stuff on.
Yep.
and-
I can probably
Okay.
just drop it in her mailbox.
Okay. So. Alright. So that was, group review and approval. We're not gonna do any approval yet, because we just don't have all 5 here. And then we're gonna update these with some of the stuff we got, and I'm sure we'll get more things as we reread them.
I can send around the draft minutes if you wanna see the action items,
Yeah,
just maybe a help in the editing of them.
okay. And then, I sent the New Hampshire Municipality Association, NHMA. I sent the PowerPoint presentation to everybody. Brenda, I sent it to you on 6/29. It's like a little PowerPoint, and it talks about the right to know things, and it has like little, you click on it, it has some slides that discuss what's public, non-public, and how to handle, materials and stuff like that. I don't have a computer to throw that PowerPoint up. I have my iPad.
Oh, I looked at all that stuff.
Yeah, but as far as that PowerPoint presentation, I'd like to, Naomi,
Yeah.
is there a way we can have a computer at our next meeting to throw the right to know presentation on the board or something like that at our meeting?
Next meeting?
It's September 18th. Just so we can go through that right to know presentation that you send out to the town. I'd rather have us all see it instead
No,
of,
that's fine, because I thought that's actually what you would do, because I was gonna bring my computer, because it's on there, and I thought, oh, they will have that.
yeah. I know I've seen stuff thrown up on on the board. I think it'd be better, so I'd like to table that 7/2 till we have a computer and put the presentation up on the whiteboard, okay? I think it's easier to do it that way than me just speaking and pointing to my iPad. So we'll table that to September. All right. I think we covered a lot. And then, Brenda, I do believe I sent you the implementation document.
You sent me.
Yeah, I sent that.
Yeah, lots of things.
I'll send that out again, and then, just so we have it fresh in our minds, take a look at this again, and I'd like to add that part, about having you read the process documents before becoming an active member. You become, before you make decisions, that you understand all our processes, okay? And if you see something else in here that doesn't look kosher to you, or you got questions, I'll try to get answers. But this was all developed a long time ago, March of 2006.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It's
I'll
when-
reread it. And-
Yeah. It was once they voted for it, then there was a part, this ordinance shall become effective 60 days after its adoption of the voters of the town of Ware. March of 2006 is when the Ethics Committee was approved, and then 60 days later, May 14th, this was adopted. But and that was the legal thing that Luke Drake and I went to town council to see, can we do anything with this document? Or do we have to go to a vote? Or do we have to take this separately to the town for approval? This implementation document, so that's it. All right, so any other items to bring for next week that you think of? No? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Next
February
month,
next month.
February 18th.
Oh, next week, next
Yes.
month, yeah. Our next meeting is September 18th, 6 PM, Town Hall. Motion to adjourn,
A motion.
second?
Second?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.